Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. Bam, bam, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to all those of you who have joined us for our wonderful Shabbat buffet that we had from our wonderful potluck here. So wonderful to have all of you here. For those of you who are joining us online, we're happy to have you with us as well. And whether you're with us on our YouTube station or on TempleShalom.com, we are in Sidur Mishkan Tfilah. And you'll find yourself on page 128 is a good place to find yourself. Right in the middle of page 128, one of the beautiful love poems of Shabbat written a few hundred years ago. Welcome in Shabbat. As we come to the Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat, we begin with Psalm 95 on page 130. Lechu neranena l'Adonai, let us sing joyfully to God. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena l'Adonai. Naria, naria, from Psalm 96, the bottom of page 131, the bottom paragraph. Yismichu hashamayim, let the heavens be glad. V'tagel haaretz, and the earth will rejoice. Yiram hayam, and the sea will join in as well. Umerlo, and all that fills them, all of God's creation, singing praises to God for creation. In this Psalm, number 96. Continue as we make our way to Psalm 97. If you, on page 132, 4 lines from the bottom of the page in the Hebrew, it says, Or Zarua Lat Tzaddik, light is sown, like we sow seeds. Light is sown for those who are righteous. Yishrei Lev, and those who are straightforward of heart or good-hearted people, they will have simcha, they will have happiness. And so we try to emulate this idea from this psalm of being righteous people and good-hearted people so that we will find light and happiness in our world and on this Shabbat. Or Zarua Lat Tzaddik, Yishrei Lev Simcha. 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 Yishrei Lev Simcha. Or Zarua Lat Tzaddik, Yishrei Lev Simcha. Yishrei Lev Simcha. Lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai. Or Zarua Lat Tzaddik, Yishrei Lev Simcha. Or Zarua Lat Tzaddik, Yishrei Lev Simcha. On page 134, we'll read together in English some of the words of Psalm 98, right there in the middle of the page. Sing praise to Adonai with the lyre and melodious song, with trumpets and blasts of the horn, raise a shout before Adonai the ruler. Let the sea and all within it thunder, the world and its inhabitants. Let the rivers clap their hands, the mountains sing joyously together at the presence of Adonai. For God is coming to rule the earth. God will rule the world justly and its people with equity. We continue from Psalm 99 on page 135. The last 3 lines of the Hebrew say, Romemu Adonai Eloheinu. We exalt Adonai our God. V'hishtachavu, and we bow down, we prostrate ourselves. Lahar Kodsho, to God's holy mountain. Ki Kadosh Adonai, because God is holy. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, v'hishtachavu lehar Kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, v'hishtachavu lehar Kodsho. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar Kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar Kodsho. From Psalm 29. We read together on page 136 and 137 the words that talk about God's power in the universe, both in grand things, earthquakes that get discussed in this psalm, and in very tiny yet powerful things, the ability of God to even take a flame and cut the flame in half. We read together, a psalm of David. Ascribe to Adonai, O divine beings. Ascribe to Adonai glory and strength. Ascribe to Adonai the glory of God's name. Bow down to Adonai, majestic in holiness. The voice of Adonai is over the waters. The God of glory thunders, Adonai, over the mighty waters. The voice of Adonai is power. The voice of Adonai is majesty. The voice of Adonai breaks cedars. Adonai shatters the cedars of Lebanon. God makes Lebanon skip like a calf, Sirion like a young wild ox. The voice of Adonai kindles flames of fire. The voice of Adonai convulses the wilderness. Adonai convulses the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of Adonai causes hinds to calf and strips forest bare. While in God's temple all say glory. Adonai sat enthroned at the flood. Adonai sits enthroned sovereign forever. May Adonai grant strength to God's people. May Adonai bestow on God's people well-being. Those last two lines in Hebrew. Adonai oz le'amo yitain. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom on page 137. Lai, 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 lai. If you were counting, you saw that we made our way through 6 Psalms, one for each day of the week, to leave those behind and come into the peace of Shabbat. If you were not counting, I'll tell you that we went through 6 Psalms to make our way, one representing saying goodbye to each day of the week, Sunday through Friday. And now we welcome in Shabbat with the Chadodi, page 138 to 139. We'll sing verses 1 and 2, and then verses 5 and 9 as we welcome in the image of that Shabbat bride. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, penei penei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala. welcome the image of the Shabbat bride with the final verse. Bo Shalom Ater Bala Av B'simcha Uv'tzora Tochem Ne'am Sekula Boi Chala la 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 Shabbat Kabbalah Before you're seated, we welcome in the Shabbat bride. We'll welcome each other. Turn to the people, to your left, to your right, in front of you, behind you, and wish everyone Shabbat Shalom. And for those of you who are online with us, on TempleShalom.com and on YouTube as well, Shabbat Shalom to all of you. Lovely to have all of you with us virtually this evening. Shabbat Shalom. Then we can all be seated. On page 140, Psalm 92, the Psalm of Shabbat that the Levites sang in the ancient times in the temple, and we still sing on Shabbat to this day. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat. Let us sing a song of Shabbat. Tov L'Hodot Adonai. It is good, especially on this Shabbat, to give thanks to God. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat. Tov L'Hodot Adonai. V'Zamer L'Shimcha Elyon. V'Zamer L'Shimcha Elyon. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat. Tov L'Hodot Adonai. V'Zamer L'Shimcha Elyon. V'Zamer L'Shimcha Elyon. Boker Kaskecha Emnatecha Baleon Ale Azor Ve'ale Ima Ve'ale Higayon Yechon Mishmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbat Tov L'Hodot Adonai Zamer L'Shimcha Elyon Zamer L'Shimcha Elyon Simchtani Adonai B'Po'olecha Ma'aseh Yadecha Aroni Ma'gadol Ma'asecha Adonai Me'od Amti Machshivotecha We will continue on page 144 with Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkadav v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah Damad yivrach Yerutev yamlich malchutei v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho Beit Yisrael ba'agala ba'agala uv'izman karivim eru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam me'amaya Yitbarach, Yitbarach, Vishtabach, Vitpa'ar, Vitramam, Vitnaseh, Vitadar, Vitale, Vitalal, Shemi Dukudasha, Burichu, Le'elam, in Koberchata, Vishirata, Tushbechata, Vinechemata, Damiron Be'alma, Vimeru, Amen. We rise, page 146, as with the words of Baruch Hu, we invite each other to prayer. We'll read together in the middle of page 148, a blessing of giving thanks for creation. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the season, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. El Chai v'Kayam, Tamid Yimloch Aleinu, Le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Ha'ma'avi Ha'aravi. Lai 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 We gave thanks for creation. Now we give thanks for the gift of Torah that was passed on to us after that creation. And it tells us that story. Page 150 are the words of Ahavat Olam, with a great amount of love. You love your people Israel, giving us your words of Torah, that they will be the length of our days, they will be all the days of our life. Ahavat Olam, page 150. Ahavat Olam, Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Amcha Ahavta. Alkein Adonai, Elohim Shochim B'Pnei, Nasiach B'Kecha, V'nismach B'divrei Toratecha, U'mitzvotecha Le'olam va'ed, Ki Chayenu, Ve'orech Yameinu, U'Bahem praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Page 152 and 153, we join together in Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom ha'levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta abam v'shivtecha b'beitecha uvlechtecha b'derech uvshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam le'od al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai item kidoshim Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Amen. Page 156. We come to the Geulah, the prayer giving thanks for the freedom that we have as we're only 2 weeks away or thereabouts, a week and a half away from Pesach. As we come to think more deeply about this idea of freedom and making our way from slavery toward the openness of a new land. We say, Emet ve'emunah, true and just is it that you are our God that watches over us and there is none else. Emet ve'emunah, Emet ve'emunah, Emet ve'emunah, Kozod ve'kayam, Alinu, Emet ve'emunah, responsively the middle of page 157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. And as our ancestors did, we sing these words, we find Exodus chapter 15, but in our book we find in the Siddur, page 158, who is like you, God, who could deliver us in freedom the way that you did. Malachut para ibanyaka, kayayam nitmo sa umiryam, ze'iyam libe amu, ze'i anu amu. Adonai yilo le'olam va'ed, Adonai yilo le'olam va'ed. Ya lai 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 lai. Ugo Alonia Kazaki Baruch atah Adonai Go'al Yisrael. We ask God to lie us down each night in peace and cause us to rise again tomorrow to life and to spread a shelter of peace over us. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu b'shalom. Page 160. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu b'shalom v'hamidenu shemenu v'chayim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu b'shalom v'hamidenu shemenu v'chayim. The little indented paragraph near the end of the Hebrew. Ushmort Seitenu Uvoinu L'chaim u'shalom v'etzaveat olam. Yai la 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 O God, may we lie down in peace and rise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us a shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel for your name's sake, and be our help. We praise you, O God, who spreads your shelter of peace over us, over Israel, and over Jerusalem. Page 162. As Moses came down the mountain, reminding us of the importance of the things that we need to do. 613 mitzvot. Not a single one of them really more important than the other, as the Talmud explains to us. But if we had to pick one, perhaps it would be Shabbat, for, as Achad Ha'am said, one of the great early Zionist thinkers, you'll see his beautiful quote on page 163. More than the Jewish people has kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jewish people. Echad Ha'am was not his real name. His real name was Asher Ginsburg. But Echad Ha'am was his pen name. And what does Echad Ha'am means? It means one of the people. A guy just sharing thoughts as one of the people. As if each and every one of us could have had the thoughts that he had in his genius in his writing. But gave us this idea that Shabbat really ties us all together. It's not about us keeping Shabbat, as he said, but Shabbat, kind of the glue that holds us together. We get that explanation in the words of the Shamru on page 163. V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et ha'Shabbat la'asot et ha'Shabbat lidorotam Shabbat, Shabbat, Vayina Shabbat, Shabbat, Vayina Shamu Shabbat, Shabbat, Vayina Shamu Shabbat, Shabbat, Vayina. As we turn to page 164, we rise for the Amidah as we find our place as we're about to tell the story of the Exodus from Egypt. We find our place wandering in our own deserts, and this is the moment where, as the ancient rabbis explained, that we get to stand and be right there at the burning bush. We begin communally as we pray together, and then we continue silently a few pages in, reading the words that we'll find on the pages in the Hebrew or the English, or the words that we find in our own souls. The rabbis of the Talmud, when they were writing this section of the service, they wrote parts of it, and some parts are written a little bit later. But they said that if you don't put yourself into the prayer, your prayer doesn't count. What does that mean? In their view, it meant this. If you read all the words on the pages in this book that we have right here in front of us, the Siddur, and then you sit down and you're done, they say your prayer doesn't count. Because you need to take a moment to internalize it, to think of the things that are important for you, the requests of God that you have, the thanksgiving to God. And so, at the very end of the prayer, before we sit down, we take a little time to compose our own sentence, our own paragraph, our own thoughts to add to the words that are the communal words in the book together. We join together with the Zimun, the meditation, on page 164. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. 166. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei hakol, v'zocher chasdei avot v'imahot, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו בשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. 170. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. We continue silently through 180 to 181. Prayer for Peace, page 178. Shalom Rach al Yisrael Amcha Hasim Olam. Shalom Ra, Al Yisrael Tasim Ki Atahu Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom Ki Atahu Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom Shalom Ra Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam Shalom Ra Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam V'tov be'einecha levarech Et Amcha Yisrael B'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך Shalom Ra Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam Shalom Ra Al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam Tasim Le'olam Tasim We turn our thoughts to those who are in need of healing. We ask God to bring refuah shlema, complete healing, to Brian Zabel, Malka Bat Hillel, Harriet Neal, Gnendel Bat Sima, Azi Rahmani, Abraham Ben Meir, Tova Bat Rasha, Howard Messerman, Howard Chook, Eleanor Siegelman, Robert Ozick, Cass Waters. Do we have any other names that anybody has for healing? We'll start on this side of the room. Any names all the way to the back? Thank you. Any others on this side? Thank you. Any others on this side of the room, names for healing? On this side of the room, any names for healing? And since I saw him hobbling around a little earlier, we'll add David Horwitz to our list as well. We turn to page 371. And in the middle of the page, you'll find the words of Misheberach, as we ask God to bring all those that we have named and all those that are in need, the healing that will come to them as quickly as possible, we pray. Misheberach, bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say those who need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. This week, in our Torah portion, we read from Parashat Vayikra. We are beginning the book of Leviticus. For some people, they think that's a great thing because it's the shortest book of the Torah. Others aren't sure if it's a great thing because it talks about sacrifice on the altar and it also talks about sacrifice on the altar, and there's also some stuff in there about sacrificing animals on the altar. And then there's a whole list of laws. And then we get to the book of Numbers. Lots of sacrifices. It begins all right. We start out, it says, God spoke to Moses and says, tell the people, remember Shabbat and observe Shabbat. And then we're done with the first two sentences, and then we move to, here's how you kill cows, and here's how you kill sheep, and here's how you kill goats, and here's how you kill birds, and here's how you chop them up, and here's how you burn them on the altar. Aren't you glad you ate dinner already? But it makes us wonder, well, at least it makes me wonder, why do we read this every year? I've never been to a sacrifice on an altar. I have no intentions of going to a sacrifice on an altar. I've never been to the tent of meeting in the middle of the desert with wandering Israelites for 40 years. I've never been to the temple in Jerusalem. I don't think I ever will go to the temple to Jerusalem. World War III happens before they build a third temple in Jerusalem. So why should I read this section that tells me how I'm supposed to cut up the cow, the unblemished cow that I'm going to bring to the high priest in the middle of the desert or in the middle of Jerusalem and give it to them, and then I'm going to put my hands on the cow, and then I'm going to slaughter the cow in a particular way, and then I'm going to cut it up in a particular way, and I'm going to put oil on it, and I'm going to put incense on it, and then I'm going to put the fat of the innards. It's all quite tasty and yummy sounding, isn't it? And why am I reading this? Because I'm not going to do this. And I'm also, as a rabbi, not going to teach anyone how to do this. And the reason is that if we look just underneath the surface of how to cut up a cow or how to cut up a goat and put it on a golden altar on a hill in Jerusalem, there's some other lessons for us. And the rabbis in ancient times even thought about some of these lessons. They were talking about the sacrifice and how everything is done in exact detail. The Talmud even spells it out in more detail than the Torah to make sure that everything is done right, including the way that the knife needs to be sharpened and exactly how the knife needs to be done. As a matter of fact, if you are a shochet, a kosher butcher, you have to have your knife done in a particular way so that when you slit the throat of the animal, that the animal will die very quickly, and you're not allowed to have any nicks, and you have to sharpen it in between each number of animals, etc., etc. And the rabbis thought that maybe people will get, well, maybe a little carried away with some of the details. In the Tosefta is a book of writing that's written somewhere between the 100s and the 200s, so a couple of years ago, around the time that the Mishnah was being written. And they told this story. This is a story that's 1,800 years old, maybe a little more. It happened that there were two young priests. They had gone through their training and they were engaged in all of the sacrifices that were brought each and every day to the temple in Jerusalem. And in their excitement of fulfilling the obligation of doing the sacrifices, they became very competitive with each other. And the way the altar was built is that there's a ramp. And you walk up the ramp so you get up to the height of the altar to put the animal on top of the altar. And in their hurrying, one of these young priests pushed the other young priest out of the way so that his sacrifice would get done first. And then he took the knife, because the other guy was kind of annoying to him, and he stabbed him in the chest. Isn't it a lovely story? And the father of the young priest, who was also a priest, who saw his son stabbed right in the middle of the chest, ran up and said to his colleagues, he says, "It looks as though I am your atonement, for while my son is still bleeding, the knife has not been damaged. And we can still use the knife to make a kosher sacrifice before God." And he pulled out the knife from his son's chest, inspected it, and said, "Yes, not a nick on the knife. God's sacrifices will be just fine." A story written back in the time not long after the temple was destroyed. Maybe no more than a generation or two or three after the temple was destroyed. The father was joyful Not because his son survived, because he didn't. But he was joyful because he could take the knife and use that knife to make a sacrifice to God on the altar that would be pure and proper, because the knife was undamaged. The authors of the Tosefta, of course, this is not a true story. It's an imaginary story from the authors of the Tosefta, these very ancient rabbis from just around the time after the destruction of the Second Temple. They saw that the idea was that they needed to explain in a rather harsh way the idea that they saw that the priests in the temple and then the priests who were functioning after the temple were caring more about the vessels of what happened in the temple than the vessels of our souls. They cared more about the knife than they did about the person. Because they believed that because God spent an entire book of the Torah explaining the details of how we do the sacrifices, that's what matters. But the prophets come along to tell us, as Isaiah does. He says in the very first chapter of Isaiah, "What need do I have of your sacrifices?" God says to you. "I'm sated with burnt offerings of rams and of the suet of fatlings and of the blood of the bulls, and I have no delight in lambs or in goats. That you appear before me and you bring goodness in the world, this is what I want, not your trampling here in the courts of my temple. Wash yourselves, put your evil doings away, and keep them away from my sight. Cease to do evil and learn to do good. Devote yourselves to justice. Aid the wronged, uphold the rights of the orphan, and defend the causes of the widow. These are the things that you should do. I don't want your sacrifices," God says. But the rabbis of the Tosefta, who were writing what would eventually become the Talmud, taught us that if we focus on the sacrifices, the ritual, we destroy souls. When I hear Jews say that my brand of Judaism is better than your brand of Judaism, we're focusing on, is that knife pure, and not on the souls. My brand is the best, by the way. It's Duncan Hines, because they make chocolate stuff. That's my favorite brand of Judaism. But if we focus on what the words mean, not that we can say the Hebrew faster than the person next to us, because I promise you there's someone in the room who can say it faster than you can. It might be me, but there's probably someone in the room who can say the words faster than I can. Certainly when I was in rabbinical school, there were lots of rabbis there who could say the words faster than I can. And if you mispronounce a kamatz or a patach or a segol or a chirik, if you don't know what any of those words mean, they're the names of the vowels, and God doesn't really care if you know the names of the vowels. And if you wind up on a different page than the page number that I said, because everybody thinks you have to be on the page the rabbi said you're supposed to be on, it's not true. Right now, I told you you were supposed to be on page 371, and some of you closed your books already. See? You're not on the page I told you to be on. But what page should you really be on? It doesn't matter if you're on the page that the rabbi or the cantor or whoever's leading the service says is the page. If there's something interesting that catches your eye in the prayer book, and I don't care if it's in the Hebrew or in the English, because you're not even looking at the Hebrew, and it catches your eye, stay there. Ponder it. Think about it. Let your soul be stirred by those words. Guess what? When you're done with that page, I will probably announce another page number and you'll catch up. And it's okay. Because you don't need to be on the page of the rest of the people in the room. You need to be on the page of your soul. And you need to be on the same page as, well, not the same page as the rabbi, the same page as God. That's a good page to be on. And if we focus ourselves on the ritual, on making sure that the knife is sharpened, that there's no nick in the knife, and then we inspect it again to make sure on the second side, and then we go back and sharpen it a third time to make sure that it's exactly perfect, and we ignore the person who's laying there bleeding. We ignore the soul. As God tells us, our sacrifice is not much. If we focus on the ritual, if we focus on, you didn't say the words properly. I can't tell you how many times I hear, and I can see it from up here. It's the weirdest thing. I can see what you're all doing. The kid, I shouldn't say the kid, because I was going to be nice and say the kid. The 40-something-year-old who was reading the Superman comics on Yom Kippur this year, that's really true. He had it inside the machzor. Like, I'm going to hide the Superman comic from the rabbi, but I could see every one of the little pictures as he turned the pages. And what I wanted to tell him was, don't hide the Superman comic from me. If the Superman comic is bringing you into the space of this room on that day, read the Superman comic. And you'll catch up to the prayer we're on in the Siddur or in the Machzor later. It's okay. Use the words and use the feelings that bring you into the place you need to be. It's not about that you bowed at the right time or the wrong time. It's not that you pronounced the vowel the right way or the wrong way. It's that you found the page that stirred your heart and brought you closer to God. That's the whole point of this story, of the terrible story of the one priest stabbing the other and pulling out the knife. Forget about the knife and think about the soul. Be on God's page. In a week and a half, we begin the holiday of Pesach. It's our holiday of freedom. Know that in your freedom, not only is it an ancient freedom of our people leaving the land of Egypt and making their way to the land of Israel, but it's your freedom to find the page that speaks to you in the book, to find your pathway to God. The Talmud says, Shivim panim la Torah. There's 70 facets to the Torah. It means there's 70 different pathways you can take. Start walking down one of them. If that one's not so good, there's 69 more for you to check out. If we turn to God's page, it will give us the roadmap to find the right pathway for ourselves, to walk down our own path of freedom as we make our way out of our own Mitzrayim, our own narrow places, our own spiritual Egypt, toward the freedom to find my way and your way and our way to connect with God. As the holiday that approaches comes quickly, I hope that all of you will have a Pesach that will allow you to celebrate freedom and find new freedoms in your life from whichever direction they may come. Amen. We're going to come to the closing prayers of our service as we turn to page 586 at the bottom of the page, and we'll rise for Aleinu. See that? I tell you to be on whatever page, and then I tell you the page number to be on. But if you get caught up in the middle of Aleinu, stay there for a while. We'll finish and you'll catch up. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'teit gedula liyotzeh bereshit, shelo asanu kol goyei ha'aratzot, velo samanu kimishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gohor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamalachim, hakadosh baruch hu, shehu notei shamayim veyoser haaretz, umoshav yikaro bashamayim mima'al, ushchinatu zo, v'govhe meromim, Eloheinu enod, emet malkeinu efesu lato, kakatu betorato, yadata hayom behashem vota elevavecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim, bashamayim mima'al, ve'al haaretz, mitachat ein od, in the middle of 590. Ki ha'malchut shelcha hi olam yimloch b'chavod, kakatu b'toratecha, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, ne'emar, vaya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, Ushemo echad, Ushemo echad. We can all be seated. In our yard sites this week, we recall the memories of Bertha Greenberg, Gerald Polikoff, Mark Rosenberg, Nina Altman, Rachel Novak, Harry Bell, Newman Barrows, Harry Erdank, Mildred Saunders, Miriam Lenevsky, Rose Kraut, Ruth Braun, Sylvia Freeman, Erwin Rosen, Laura Ginsberg, Yuval Zaza, Sam Diamond, Samuel Miller, Barbara Solomon, Michael Mendelson, Bess Buckhalter, David Harris, Louis Warhoft, Ruth Wingfield, Fanny Manvitz, Rachel Crawford. We also note the recent passing of Ellen McIntosh, mother of Pam Gerfine. Are there any other yard sites that anyone is observing this week? Thank you. Any others? Thank you. Any others? Yehi zichronam levracha, may their memories be an eternal blessing. We ask mourners to rise and those whose custom it is to stand with them. As we turn to the Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. Yitgadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divra chirute v'amlich malchute, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala Wizman Kari Vimru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach La'alam U'amei Almaya. Yitbarach, Vishtabach, Yitpa'ar, Yitromam, Yitnaseh. Yithadar, Yit'aleh, Yithalal, Shmei Dukudisha Brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata b'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. D'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi Shalama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'mrama, Huya Oseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. We can be seated. Before we bring our service to a close, we're going to invite Denny Elston from our Board of Directors to share a few announcements for us to know of things upcoming in the near future.
Thank you all for joining us this Erev Shabbat for our service. If you're new or you're visiting the temple for the first time, Baruch Habayim. Be sure to okay. It's because of the, okay.
It's because I'm mean and moving the microphone.
Please introduce yourself and let us welcome you. Thank you, Rabbi Sherwood, for leading us in the service, and thanks to everyone who participated in the service this evening. And thank you to all of you who participated in our potluck Shabbat. We're really pleased. It was Beth's and my hope that this would become a really exciting experience and that people would look forward to it. We love it when you register. If you called the office and heard that said, I can't emphasize it enough, not registering even as a member of Temple Shalom, has effects on logistics and security. If you miss a deadline but the office is still open, give us a call. Put the office number on your speed dial or your favorite contacts. If we're there but can't get to your call, leave a message. We love it when you register, and the love was all capitalized. Spring break, March 26th through the 31st at Temple Shalom. No religious school or preschool, adult education classes, Torah and stuff with Rabbi Jay is still happening. Is that true?
That one's happening, but nothing else. That's correct.
Okay. Just to put a plug in for April installment of the Fourth Friday, this is really exciting, we're going to be celebrating Israel's 75th anniversary with an Israeli dinner main course of falafel. Sign up for each one of these early temple at templeshalom.com and tell us what you're bringing, and there'll be we're looking for Israeli salads and some other stuff. Some fun and meaningful things are happening this in April. Save these dates and be sure to register for any that you wish to attend on April 1st. The Chocolate Seder from 7 p.m. That's April 2nd is the Men's and Women's Club Minyan breakfast featuring our own Dr. Kate Raphael. A Passover service will be at 9:30 on Thursday, April 6th. Passover service in Yiskor on April 13th. You're getting all these, right? There's a lot more happening at Temple Shalom in the community. Food and wine are featured at 2 of the Rabbi Jay's classes. Check out our online calendar and make your plans to register for events at templeshalom.com. On Saturday, April 8th from 1 to 2 p.m., a 10-week class on chanting Torah and Haftorah with Robert Footlick as facilitator will begin. Prerequisite is that you're fairly proficient in reading Hebrew and will agree to participate as a reader of the Torah and Haftorah when you have successfully completed the course. There are a limited number of slots in the class, so go to templeshalom.com for more information and sign up for the class page as soon as you can. Colorado College Chaplain's Office in Hillel are sponsoring the 33rd Annual Holocaust Commemoration Service of Remembrance on Monday, April 17th at 7 p.m. at the Bemis,
Bemis
sorry, my glasses. Bemis Great Hall. Our own Danny Schnee will be the speaker this year with Tangled Threads, the story of anti-Semitism, and I don't know how to pronounce that, Schwellem? Adler family. I'm sorry that I just butchered that name.
Adler end of the family.
Yeah, I think I just butchered that name. We're looking for some good, caring, enthused people for our education programs. If you or anyone you know is interested in working with children in our preschool or religious school, please contact Elena Rathman as soon as you can. And if you know of any temple members who are ill, hospitalized, or suffering from a loss, please contact the temple office so we can be sure to provide encouragement and support. And thanks to Temple Shalom and the Oneg Maven team for our Oneg this evening, the desserts after. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Check the calendar, and all that stuff is on the temple calendar on our website, so you can sign up for all those great events. There's still space available for all of the stuff leading up to Pesach, including the chocolate Seder. That sounds like fun. I think I'm going to go. Oh, it is not. No, it's not that it's not necessarily a children's event. It's not a children. It's definitely an adult event, and children are welcome to come to the adult event. So it's a great way to learn how to run a Pesach Seder in your house and to also eat an obnoxious amount of chocolate. So you'll want to page 625. We'll bring our service to a close with the words of Adon Olam on page 625. Adon Olam, Hashem Olam, tearing forth, singing along in our song, the tops of cold, and the land, Simonica, they are parade, you don't talk
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We'll go have a little oneg together in the social hall. La, 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 la.